Morning, how's everyone? Good. I think this is our 5th chapel, right? 5th or 6th? You guys enjoying it so far? Good. I hope you've been encouraged and challenged through it all. When I was 20 years old, I had the great idea of joining the U.S. Army. And I thought to myself, I watched the commercials on TV of guys like soldiers like fast roping out of helicopters and doing things like jumping out of the back of airplanes or fighting in wars and being like a hero and stuff like that, and like putting on like the face paint and stuff. And I was like, oh, I want to be that, That's super awesome. I want to do cool stuff like that. So I signed all the paperwork and went through all the physical stuff, and they let me into the U.S. Army. And I had a reality check. The first day I stepped off of the bus in what would be 9 long weeks of U.S. Army basic training was this reality check for me. Because when I stepped off the bus, one of the first things they gave me was a backpack that looked just like this. We called it a rucksack. And then we also kind of nicknamed it the Big Green Tick, because it would kind of like suck the life out of you. And they didn't just give us a backpack, they didn't just give us the rucksack, they gave us things to put in it. So I got off, at day 1, day 2, I realized very quickly that I wasn't going to be jumping out of airplanes or fast roping out of the sides of helicopters, at least for a while. I had to go through some training first, right? And so they gave me this backpack, and everywhere we went, we would like run around with this rucksack, and it weighed about 30 to 40 pounds. When we would go out just, on ruck marches, we would wake up at like 4 in the morning and just walk for like 10 kilometers. And we would do that just on like a weekly basis. And it was breaking in our combat boots and getting us conditioned to feel the weight of a rucksack on our back. But man, I was just like so down and out. I was like, what? This is boring. I'm better than all this stuff. I'm better than just like walking around. I should be like, I'm good. I should be fast roping out of helicopters, or give me like a rifle. They didn't give me a rifle till much later, and they gave me just a backpack and some stuff to put in it and a uniform, and they just marched us around everywhere, and just kind of like it was just a humiliating process where I was like, I want to jump right into the cool stuff that I saw on TV, that I see in the movies, But no, it was a long time coming. Let me show you some of the things that they would put in our backpacks. See if I can sit down here. So, let me see if I can open this with one hand. One of the things that they would give us, one of the things they would give us, a foldable shovel. We had to carry around a heavy metal shovel. It was actually strapped to the side right here in a case, but it was just like this. It was an entrenching tool, they called it, in case we wanted to dig a hole. I don't know. But anyways, we carried that around for no reason. That was kind of frustrating. We carried around things like headlamps in case we were out early before the sun came up, which was pretty often, and we had to put a headlamp on our heads so cars would see us as we're out on like a ruck march or something. We would all put our headlamps on, and they would see this group of soldiers marching down the side of the road with headlamps on. And that wasn't what I thought. And then these are MREs. We were given one of these either the night before a ruck march or the morning of a ruck march. And this was our lunch, and we just kind of had to eat it while we walked, while we marched. And we just kind of had to like keep going, keep moving, and open it up and get things out and just kind of snack as we ate. But this was our meal for the day. So they gave it, that's kind of heavy too, kind of weighed us down. The other thing they gave us was, we would be marching on the sides of these roads, a column of people over here and a column of people over there, and the road through the middle. And randomly, these drill sergeants would jump out of the woods, and they would go, gas, gas, gas! And they would throw canisters of CS gas in between us all. And the thing would pop, and then CS gas would fly everywhere. And we had to get down and whip this out really fast and strap it on our heads. And that was really annoying at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, to be gassed with CS gas. And if you don't get this out fast enough and put it on, you're going to be breathing that stuff in, and it's going to make just all the stuff that's in your sinuses come out of your eyes and your nose and your mouth. It was a terrible experience. But, it got us used to whipping these out really quick and putting them on in case of emergency. But it was just this really inconvenient thing, and it wasn't what I expected. And I was annoyed and I was frustrated. I was like, man, I'm better than this, like them throwing CS gas at me. So the other and last really annoying aspect of the 9 weeks of basic training is a spoon. Day 1, they gave us a spoon. It was a plastic spoon, what comes in the MRE. It wasn't like this. And they said, this is your eating utensil for 9 weeks. If you lose your spoon, you have to come get a new one from us. And people were losing their spoons, but little did they know that when you go ask for a new spoon, you have to pay for it. I mean, with like physical exercise. You have to buy it back from them. And they would give you a new plastic spoon, but you had to work for it. So we learned very quickly, don't lose your spoon. And after every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 9 weeks, all you had was a spoon. And I was like, this is so frustrating. 9 weeks of this madness, and I just wanted to jump out of airplanes. I wanted to go fight the Taliban, find Osama bin Laden. And here I am sitting in this backwoods of Oklahoma, eating with a spoon and walking around with this big green tick. I'm better than this. And I just got this low point, and I was just so demoralized by it all. And this isn't me, obviously, but that's kind of what I looked like in basic training. Just rolling around in the mud and just why am I doing this? What is the meaning of all this, And I remember one day, we were on this ruck march and we had to run back, and we would jog with these things on. We would weigh them down and run with them for extended periods of time. I remember the drill sergeant one day, he said, the first 5 people to make it back to the barracks will get 5 extra minutes on their phone call with their family tonight. And we were allowed to make 1 phone call per week to someone that we chose to call. And we only had 5 minutes on the phone. But he offered to double our time. So I was one of the 5 people that made it back. And I called my dad that evening on a payphone. And you guys don't know what those are. But they're phones that you have to pay to use. And so I called my dad, and I explained to my dad, I said, this isn't what I expected. I'm thinking about just throwing in the towel and leaving, just going home, just going back to my life, and just giving up. I don't know, this isn't what I expected. I feel like I'm better than this. It's all just kind of pointless and meaningless. And my dad, he brought up a verse. If we go to the next slide, I'll share that verse with you. It says, he didn't quote it just like this, he kind of paraphrased a little bit. He said, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. And he reminded me of that, and it convicted me. And little things like spoons and eating with a spoon for 9 weeks, I wasn't being faithful in that, and I didn't have a good attitude about it. And I thought, this is pointless, I'm better than this. Things like putting on this really fast, I felt like that was kind of pointless. I was better than that. But it was the little things. And so I went back to my barracks that night and I thought, yeah, he's right, I'm not being faithful in the little things. Yeah, I'm doing them and I'm able to achieve them, but I don't have a good attitude when I'm doing them. And so I figured that night I'm going to just throw everything I have into being faithful in those little things, and my superiors will see that maybe and trust me with bigger things. And I remembered that I'm training for battle. Ultimately, all this and me being in basic training was so that one day I could face an enemy and defeat that enemy. And I had to keep that bigger picture in mind. And I had to remind myself to be faithful in these small things so that one day they would trust me with the bigger things. The kicker was this. I pictured myself with an M16, walking around like Rambo. But this is what they gave me. The first 2 weeks was a board just like this. And we had to walk around with it and learn how to not point it at our buddies, learn muzzle awareness and just not setting on the ground. And they just taught us how to carry our weapon and what not to do with it. And then they trusted us with a real rifle. Then they entrusted us. So it's another small thing but man, it was humiliating walking around like this with a piece of wood under your arm. Gosh. But I was faithful in it and eventually was given the real thing. So Let's go to the next slide. This is me 9 weeks later. And I overcame, and eventually they gave me the real deal. There's my green tick, still on my back. But I was trusted with the big things. I was entrusted with the larger things. And I realized that 200 plus years of the history of the U.S. Army, they figured it out a little bit, that before they can put someone in the line of fire, and not only put someone in the line of fire, but, let's go back one slide. Not only put someone in the line of fire, but entrust them with the lives of other people around them. Before they can do that, they got to figure out, can this person be consistent enough? Is this person stable enough to eat with a spoon for 9 weeks? Before we put this person in the line of fire, and before we trust this person to overcome the enemy, let's figure out if they can be obedient in the small things and faithful in the small things. And then maybe we'll entrust them with the lives of other people around them. And I overcame. I was faithful in the small. So let's go forward one more slide. And let's go forward one more slide. Ephesians 6:12. Paul is writing here to the church in Ephesus, and he's saying that put on your full armor, because you got to remember that we're not fighting against flesh and blood, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, things that we can't see with our natural eyes. And he says against mighty powers in the dark world and against evil spirits in heavenly places. So we can't see the fight that we're engaged in. But right now you might be thinking, you might have those eating with a spoon or carrying around a piece of wood for 9 week moments. Like, man, why are my teachers so on me about wearing a belt every day? I'm better than that. That's pointless. What is the big picture there? Or why am I supposed to sit in my seat during the lunch and not walk around? Why are we always so loud? And why are the teachers always on us about being so loud? Or why do we always have to bring our Bible to chapel? Man, they're just always nitpicking these small little things. It's guys, we know that we're in a battle. And the little details now that you're experiencing, yeah, they're frustrating. But just remember that those people who God has put in authority over you are watching. And God is watching. And he's saying, are you faithful in the small things? Because if you can't wear a belt every day and have a good attitude about it and be faithful in it, then I don't know if I can trust you with expanding my kingdom and putting big, heavy kingdom things in your hands. I just can't do it. Just like the U.S. Army couldn't put someone who couldn't eat with a spoon for 9 weeks in front of the enemy fire. God's going to choose people who are faithful in small things. And not only faithful, but submissive to it. Until you come to the point of like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to wear a belt every day. I'm going to tuck my shirt in every day. Yeah, it's annoying. It's frustrating. And I feel like I'm better than it. But I know that God's watching. I know that he's going to trust me with something bigger later on. And until you get to that point of submission and just saying, you know what, I'm just going to do it. He's not going to trust you with the bigger things. And you got to remember that you're either building his kingdom or you're tearing it down. There's no in between. There is no in between. You're either building his kingdom or you're tearing it down. And we know how the end of the book ends. Those who are building his kingdom are rewarded greatly. And those who are not building his kingdom doesn't end too well. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for all these students that you've put in our lives. Father, help us just right now to see the small things that are annoying and frustrating and tiring and humiliating even. But help us to see them as training grounds for the bigger things that you have in store for us. Help us just to remember that you have a specific purpose and plan for our lives. And help us to know that we're in a battle with unseen forces and that you want to enlist us into that battle as soldiers for you, where we can build your kingdom, and not only build your kingdom, but storm the gates of hell. We can advance and go on the offense against the gates of hell. I just ask that you just help everyone remember that we're all made in your image, and you've all given a specific purpose and plan for our lives. We thank you for your Son who died that we might have life and have it abundantly. And we pray all these things in his name.